Hey guys, how goes life? I hope all is well and jolly. Happy Wednesday. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves and each other and just, trying to maintain focus on positive vibes, positive energy only. All that negativity will get you nowhere fast. But anywho, want to have an open and honest conversation about grief. So there's two parts to it. I'm just gonna put it all in one. So grief is something that I was talking about with my therapist this past Monday. Not we didn't say the word grief or grieving, but it's basically the gist of what we were talking about. I think I covered on one of my last videos that my dad is very sickly and he's doing everything he can to keep himself sick. I don't know if I mentioned that he was in the hospital right now. Thank God it's not COVID. Thank God for that, truly and honestly. But he is sick. He has a lot of conditions that he's not taking care of. It's really frustrating, to watch this man that I love, even though it's hard for me to admit that to him quite often. It's hard to watch this man that I've loved for 30 years just slowly destroy and kill himself, and then expect us to cater to him and feel bad and X, Y, and Z. Like it really bothers me because I can't save someone. I can't assist in saving someone who doesn't want to save themselves. I've tried that before. It doesn't work. So like with him, like I think I covered in the last video and videos before, like at this point I am accepting him for who he is and for the changes that he does not want to make. That does not make it less frustrating. Like you can't help but to be frustrated and angry sometimes when you're in the thick of it with them, like them meaning him and my mom. So yeah, so he's in the hospital. He's going to be discharged later on. Again, thank God for that. So where me and my therapist were talking about grief, he has been pulling these episodes lately that are really like a mind control thing, honestly, in my opinion. He makes himself sick to the point where he's in so much pain and he can't do this for himself, and he's yelling and he's screaming and he's keeping us up and forcing extra responsibility on my mom that she shouldn't have. And I just told my therapist the next time it happens, because it's gonna happen again, we're just gonna go home to my home. And my therapist was like, this might be a little morbid. She was like, well, what happens if you do that and you guys come back, meaning me and my mom, you guys come back and he's dead? My thing is like it's a harsh reality to face, but you got yourself here. There are so many factors and things that you could have done to reverse this, but you're choosing not to do it. So she's like, I think that you could handle it, and I just want to know how you feel that your mom would react. I was like, I think my mom is strong enough to handle it. We've had a lot of death and despair in this family. It's something that, it's scary, it's crazy, but I've grown accustomed to. So like I get it. And then when it concerns my dad, you guys know, like, my emotions are everywhere with him. But I will say that I've been preparing myself for this for a really long time, not because that's what I think about, but just because like of his activities, his actions, and just because I know it's going to happen. You don't know when, and that's the thing, but you know it's going to happen because that's a part of the life cycle. So when she said, I know that you can handle it, I started to think, well, how do you know that I can handle it? Like, is it because like I'm really that strong to the point where, it's gonna happen? I accept that. I know that it's gonna happen. That could be it, or it could also just be I've built myself up. I've built this wall around me so thick that not very many things can penetrate it, and the things that can penetrate it, I'm at an understanding of it. So that's just something I was thinking about. Like, you can't. I can't say how I would react. I can't say how I would grieve because we haven't reached that plateau yet. And I don't want to put that out there, but it was just interesting, that she said that she thinks that I can handle it. The second part of this is, just a little bit more grief. We are in a pandemic where peoples are dying by the hundreds every day, and that reality is absolutely terrifying. It's absolutely scary. But what gets me is when it's like Not just that it's young people, because people dying, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt regardless. It's gonna penetrate the hardest of people. Like it's unnerving, even to me. But what gets me is that when it gets closer and closer to home, that's when I start to get like a little sad. Not even a little sad, like just sad. Even if I didn't know the person, I say that to say, a friend of my nephew's died. He was a young man. He, from what I saw, like I knew who he was, I knew of him, but I never knew this person personally. For what I do know of him, he was a talented, ambitious young man. He was doing a lot for himself, and he got himself, or from what I heard, I don't know. Again, there was a predicament, that a health predicament that he faced, and it didn't end well for him. You know, and it was sad. It was disheartening because, like I said, he's a young man, probably a couple of years younger than me, give or take. He was a young man. He was talented. I don't know what was going on internally or externally because I didn't know him. But what I do know is that another life was lost, and it got closer, and it made me sad. So when I was talking to my sister about it, and she was telling me about like how my nephew reacted or whatever, um, and how what her initial reaction was. It was, I understood where she was coming from, but it was still like a little hurt. It was still like a little hurt, a little disheartening because you don't know what's going on with people, and then we say the first things that come to our minds, and it's just like I'm reacting without facts, and it's not just like I'm reacting because I didn't know this person or because of X, Y, and Z. It's reacting because I'm afraid. Because I don't know if I don't know to what extent she feels like I feel like it's getting closer to home, and this is somebody that my nephew knew personally, but it's scary. So we were talking to another. I was talking to another friend, a separate group of people, talking to two friends, and this friend is a friend of my cousin, and she was like, your cousin's over here sad because of what transpired. And she, again, you don't know how people grieve, and you can't expect people to grieve or feel what you feel, especially if they don't know the person. But like, I chimed in. I'm just like, he was from what I understand, he was a good person. He he was doing what he was doing. Like, he was making a name for himself. He was, like I said, a talented young man, and he lost his life. So it's okay for my cousin to be upset because that was his friend. So I'm explaining that to her, and she's like, well, you know, there are things that could have been done to prevent that. I was like, yeah, and I'm not knocking that, but we don't know this man, and we don't know what happened. We don't know what the lapse was because he was fine until he wasn't. Um, for whatever the issue was, whatever it is that like led to him losing his life, it's like it's something that we deal with on a daily basis, especially being so young. We all think that we're invincible, but I think in this pandemic, in this atmosphere, and just with people dying closer and closer to home and to our age, until like, it's scary, and it makes you reflect a lot on the things that you're doing to yourself. Like, how can you take better care of yourself? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, yeah. It's just the whole grieving process. Like, I know my nephew and my cousin were upset. This is one of their friends. It's sad because talking to my nephew just a little bit that I talked to him yesterday, it was just, you can hear the hurt in his voice, and I'm not used to that when it comes to him. Like, I don't know if you guys have got it, but we in this family are something special. There are things that we take seriously, things that we don't take seriously, and like I said, when things get closer and closer to home, it's a different reaction, it's a different feeling. So hearing the hurt in his voice, knowing how I feel about it, knowing how other people feel about it, it's really sad, and it's just like it makes you want to embrace what we have going on right now. Not the negative parts of it, but embrace the positive aspects of it. Embrace what it is that you can get out of it. Like, oh my gosh, I'm emotional. Like, for me, like you guys know, my thing is I'm learning so much more about myself, and I'm confronting myself so much more, that's what I'm taking from this. I could start a business right now. I could do X, Y, and Z. I could make tons and tons of money, but that's not where I am right now. Where I am is about self and mental preservation and being happy about where I am and just trying to be a better person. Hang on for 1 second. Sorry. So yeah, it's just like taking care of yourself first and foremost, like your physical self, your mental self, your emotional self. That is what needs to be pushed. I get that, we all want the best financial outcomes from this, that, and the third, and we want this and that. Take care of yourself first. If nothing else, all of that material shit will not matter if you're dead. It will not matter if you're unhappy. It will not matter if you don't have your feelings and your thoughts and your mental health in check. Let's just be honest, it won't. Take care of yourself first. Do what's healthy and what's best for you. Don't let fear and anxiety and depression lead you down a path that you can't come back from. That's all I'm saying. So in the end, like I said, everybody grieves differently. I I can't do anything but hope and pray and want the best for everyone. It doesn't matter if I know you personally, it doesn't matter if I knew you, it doesn't matter what have you. I want the best for everyone. And I think that's something that we need to push more than the more than the extravagance, more than the more not the extracurriculars, more than the monetary values, more than the replaceable items. Take care of you, you know? Have a good one, guys.